Good evening and thanks for tuning on to DBS Television for this edition of the news in the English language. This Friday's edition is the last for this week. Today we go straight on to the news, beginning with society and particularly family. The world observes every 15th of May as World Family Day, and in prelude to this day, which comes up tomorrow, Mange Venasius went out and gathered some views from Douala city dwellers on what they consider a family to be, and particularly the importance that they attach to a family. These are some of the opinions he sampled for us in the following report.
The notion of what a family is can be as diverse as who is considering the subject. It varies from one race and culture to another. The concept of a family to an African is different from what a Westerner will have. Knowing that we can talk of an extended family for Africans and nuclear type for the Western world, influence from intercommunal exchange and the impact of the development in communication have led to a great confusion of what a family is or should be to many. Examining the issue with Douala city dwellers, some consider the family from an extended view, as this man says. To this other person, a family transcends blood relations. To him, those around him, those who share his daily life, constitute his family. Those with him, he is at ease. He substantiates his point that blood brothers at times do not live normally, so they can't be considered a family. To this lady, a family is first her husband and her children. But looking it broadly, even her neighbors to an extent can be considered her family. But others, like this man, insist on the blood links that ties families together. But they all point out to the importance of one's family, especially when confronted with difficulties. It should be noted that the World Family Day is observed every 15th of May. The day was proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly in 1993 for the international community to reflect on the importance it attaches to the family. This year's focus is on the impact of new technologies and the well-being of families.
Still in line with family, the entire Cameroonian family and notably the Douala community is still in mourning with the passing away of one of their great personalities, Joseph Pokosi Ndumbe. His funeral has taken place in Douala today. The mortal remains of the outstanding Cameroonian pharmacist and politicians were laid to rest in the funeral ceremony, judged worthy of his reputation. Several governments and administrative authorities answered present to pay their last respect to him, same as religious and traditional authorities. After deep testimonies on the hard-working and generous man he was, Joseph Pokosi Ndumbe was posthumously decorated with a national honor of merit. He was then buried in a private ceremony in his home in Mbange, Douala 5 subdivision. Pokosi Ndumbe was a renowned pharmacist, militant of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement CPDM, and president of the Cameroon Council of Pharmacists. He passed away on the 20th of April, leaving behind a widow, several children, and the whole country, particularly the Sawa community, in mourning. Back to the Muslim festival or feast of the Ramadan. The end of the Muslim feast of Ramadan, or the month of Ramadan, like elsewhere in Cameroon, was massively celebrated in the town of Maroua in the far north region. Due to the COVID-19 situation, only 25 mosques were eligible to host gatherings for prayers, amongst which were the Mosque of the Lamidat, with prayers led by main Imam Sheikh Mahmoud Mal Bakari, who in his sermon reminded Muslim faithfuls of the fundamental role of mercy and social cohesion in Islam and national or nation building, a role which the governor of the Far North region, Mijiawa Bakari, himself highlighted and insisted for all Muslim faithfuls to actively play. He especially noted that the feast of the end of Ramadan, coinciding with the Feast of Ascension for Christians, is a pure reminder of unity between faithfuls of both religions. Let's now get a message from the governor to Muslims and Cameroonians as a whole regarding the lifestyle to lead even after both religious festivals have come and gone. Let's listen.
We have Muslim faith, on the other hand, a Christian faith. That's, you said, it's a symbolic. We think that the Almighty is called upon the population, the entire population, the world, to love each other, to be generous, to get rid, to avoid hating each other, and to change one's behaviors. That's what we can read from this symbolic. And on another hand, we have the COVID-19. That's why we try to authorize with the Mr. Prefect and the Lamido of Marwa to authorize all those mosques in the entire town to pray and in order to observe the barrier measure prescribed by the head of the Prime Minister, Chief of Government. And we, last but not the least, in why we call open population to observe this behavior, the important behavior we do have during 30 days of fasting. That's to love each other, to help each other, to avoid hating one another, and also to do his best to live in peace.
Now we take you to the East region of Cameroon, where a group of poachers were arrested this week while they transported a large quantity of dead animals meant for the black market. The stock, made up even of protected species, is recognized to be the largest quantity that the Anti-Poaching Commission of the East region of Cameroon has ever seized this far. Mange Venasius tells us more.
The East region of Cameroon is one of the 10 regions renowned for diverse forms of riches, amongst which are forest resources, one of the richest in the country alongside that of the South region. For many years, this has been a point of attraction for illegal hunters or poachers who stop at nothing to hunt down and kill the animals indiscriminately. Recently in Betua, a group of poachers were intercepted with a huge stock of dead animals of all sorts, even protected species of the East region's forest. Snakes, buffaloes, and other large primates are some of the poached animals seized by the Regional Anti-Poaching Commission with the collaboration of forces of law and order. The cargo was seized at the exit of the town of Betua en route to the Center region. After the East Regional Delegate of Forest and Wildlife, Francis Jurang Na, came to take stock of the situation, he gave a strong warning to all violators of Cameroon's wildlife law.
2500 une fois. 2500. 3000 une fois. 3000 deux fois. 3000. Et la monnaie, pardon. 2500.
Away with formalities or warnings, the Anti-Poaching Commission, law enforcement forces, and the population took advantage to make something good of a bad situation. The animals were sold on auction, an occasion which the people grabbed wholeheartedly.
Qui a acheté? Qui a pris?
Research has it that wearing a bike helmet can reduce the risk of fatal injuries by at least 45% and particularly death by at least 29%. Yet wearing these injuries or wearing this gadget is still far from being a habit for bike riders in Cameroonian cities. Our reporter Nde Vanessa Shuyong went out talking to some bike riders in Cameroon's economic capital Douala to find out the reason for their reluctance towards wearing this, and here is what she found out.
A helmet is a form of protective gear worn to protect the head from injuries. Following the decree of January 5, 2009, the Prime Minister Philemon Yang announced that no commercial bike rider should drive without the helmet. 9 years after, the practical side of the decree is yet to be visible. Visiting some streets in Douala and other regions of the country, a good number of commercial bike riders do not adhere to the decree. Speaking to some to find out why they do not ride with their helmets on, they gave varied reasons.
Contrairement aux autres, certains ne connaissent pas l'utilité du casque.
Contrary to others, some people do not know the importance of the helmet. The helmet is for protection. For example, if you fall with your head, you can die or have problems that could last for long. I, in particular, do not wear it.
Though they are aware of the dangers of no helmet in case of accidents, they are also conscious of the necessity and value of these helmets.
Depuis que moi j'ai commencé à mettre le casque, je me sens vraiment très à l'aise.
Since I started wearing the helmet, I feel safer because it will help reduce the effect of the damage in case of an accident. I advise all my brothers who are bike riders to put on their helmets.
Although bike riders have been told that the primary goal of a motorcycle helmet is for safety, to protect the rider's head during impact, thus reducing head injury and saving the rider's life, the bike riders are yet to see why they should be obliged to put on a helmet when, according to them, they are just riding around a small, limited area.
Since it is already weekend, we shall now take you to discover or maybe rediscover for some Carrefour Lonkak, which is a popular relaxation spot in Cameroon's economic or rather political capital, Yaoundé. A simple, safe and quiet place, it is one to make memories, a thing which photographers have taken on themselves to make happen. Let's go and discover Carrefour Lonkak in Yaoundé. Every city in every country is identified with particular quarters and major roundabouts, each with its own peculiarity. In the city of Yaoundé, just like Rond-Point Express is to the Biémassi neighborhood, with its multiple restaurants, museums, hotels and supermarkets, or as Rond-Point Bastos near to the Yaoundé Sports Complex and the National Radio and TV headquarters, so is Rond-Point Lonkak in the Yaoundé 1 subdivision. Its green and natural environment is what makes its beauty, causing the roundabout to stand out from many others. The Lonkak roundabout is characterized with a variety of trees, richly colored flowers, and the green grass, making it a true paradise for inhabitants of Yaoundé and its visitors. Being such a point of attraction, Rond-Point Lonkak receives the presence of several Yaoundé city dwellers on a daily basis. Some come here for relaxation, to take fresh air and discuss, or simply to have some quiet time. It is also a sort of refuge for the homeless persons. Whatever the case, many would hardly visit here without taking pictures to immortalize the moment. And this has created a permanent source of income for some photographers, especially on weekends and during festive periods. It equally has the reputation of being one of the safest roundabouts in Yaoundé. There is no doubt that Rond-Point Longkak is a true beauty and treasure to Yaoundé city dwellers, one that needs to be protected and preserved at all costs for the future. Looking for a quiet place to spend the weekend, then you are served. That was it for stories in Cameroon, and now we take you to other stories out of Cameroon to end today's edition of the newscast. We take you notably to revisit the violent clashes or confrontations between Israel and Gaza, with latest reports holding that Israel has intensified its assault on Gaza, while Palestinian militants have continued to fire rockets into Israel. Israel bombarded Gaza with artillery and airstrikes again this Friday, intensifying the conflict that has so far claimed over 127 lives. Jewish and Israeli Arab civilians have been fighting within Israel, prompting the president to warn of a civil war. The latest episode of intense fighting between Israel and the Palestinian militants in Gaza was in 2014, and there are fears that the new conflicts have already lasted 5 days, could even be more disastrous. The fighting is a result of power struggle between regional powers. In the more than 127 deaths recorded, 39 are children, mostly Palestinian, while 8 Israelites have died in the conflict. Over 830 other people have been injured in this fighting. That was it for today's edition of the news and what we gathered for you. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend on DBS Television and see you on Monday. Good night.